back is one of the less common swing faults. But if you are someone who hangs back in your swing, it's a sign that there's other things going on that we definitely need to address. And we're going to get to that in just a little bit. But first, we want to understand what hanging back is. And what hanging back is when we transition from our backswing to our downswing, we'd like to get through the shot, be able to clear through, shift our weight, and be balanced on our lead foot as we can kind of turn through the shot. The momentum of the club and all our power brings us up into this position. Well, hanging back is the failure to do that. It's where you hang back. So rather than your power going through the shot, it kind of stays behind the shot. So when we talk about hanging back, what we're talking about is failure to get through the shot. Now, there's a couple reasons why this might happen, and both of them are important, and both of them play off of each other. One of them is sequence. And by sequence, what we're talking about is the order in which your body releases that power that you've built from the ground. Okay, so your feet are connected to the ground, you take your backswing, you wind up, your whole body is coiled, loaded, ready to go. The sequence should be lower body, core, arm, club. Okay, and typically if that doesn't happen, say the club goes first, then what happens is some of this weight, it gets thrown out and we have to go backwards to counter it. Okay, and that's just the physics of it. If you throw a big weight that way and it's out of sequence, you're going to have to go backwards to balance it out. So part of it is sequence, and the other part is strength. We're mainly talking about lower body and core strength when we talk about strength here, but again, being able to take that foundation that you've built with the ground and transfer that energy into the shot requires a lot of strength, and it requires that strength to move in the correct sequence. So we want to know, how do we fix this? So when it comes to the sequence, there's a little progression, a little protocol, if you will, that I love doing to help with sequence, and the first one is a Stork Twist. And a Stork Twist is a really good way to improve your balance, your coordination, as well as the control around your hip joints, which is really important for what we're talking about. Then we want to get into some skater jumps. And skater jumps are an amazing exercise for building strength and coordination, particularly when we're talking about sequence, being able to load your leg, balance it, unload, go to the other side, back and forth under control. And then we take this ability that we've just built and we do something called a step and swing. And a step and swing is a little drill that you can do. You can do it at home with a wedge. You can even do it with a putter, just to build some fluidity to this sequence. So I'll show you how to get to that later. The other side of it is the strength component. And again, this is body awareness as well as strength. And so the first thing, and it might seem unusual, but it's burpees. And I love the burpee because it's a full body exercise and it gets the whole body all the way down, all the way up. It is scalable, it builds strength, it builds body awareness. There's a lot that comes from this, not to mention also just getting warm. Now the second piece is very proprioceptive, meaning getting your muscles to coordinate and work together. And this is the 5-minute single leg power progression. Okay, it takes 5 minutes and you go through as best you can a series of exercises. There's 4 of them, and you go from level 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, and you see how far you can get in 5 minutes. You don't always finish, even if you're good at it, but each time you do it, you get a little bit better, and it goes into developing the awareness and stability strength that we need to help with hanging back. Okay, and then the last piece are explosive side squats. And these are awesome for putting everything that we just built together. It's a full body exercise, but it has to do with using your legs to load and explode while creating stability and balance. And I mean, it just really ties together everything that we're talking about when we're talking about preventing hanging back. Grab a golf club, everybody, because it's time for some Stork Twists. We're going to use our golf club for stability, but we don't want to rely on it. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take our right foot and bring it up onto the inside of our left leg, both hands on the top of the club. We're going to try to rock our hips back and forth, side to side, keeping our foot flat and keeping our chest forward. Now the key here is making sure that it's the hip that's doing the turning, not just the knee pivoting. Okay, I'll show you an example on the other side. What we want to see is that the entire hip is what's doing the turning. You may feel like just pivoting this knee is doing something, but if you look at my belt buckle, it hasn't moved. So make sure it's the belt buckle that's doing that moving. Remember, this is just for stability. It's not a crutch. Try to keep your upper body stable, foot flat, and then move from that hip. And that's a stork twist. There are few exercises better than the skater jump when it comes to rotary power, coordination, sequence, you name it. What a skater jump is at its essence is a lateral side-to-side jump on one leg, but that leg switches. So I start on my right leg, and I'm going to jump to my left leg with the goal of sticking that landing. Okay? If I jump too far and I shuffle or fall, it's a sign that I've jumped too far. I'm not ready for that. And so it's okay to start with small jumps where it's perfect and you really nail that landing, and then work into greater distances over time. But again, you want to stick the landing, and you want to be able to hold that position under control for at least 3 seconds to make it count. Sometimes we need a simple way to find our rhythm or our feel or our tempo, or to build a good sequence before we go out and play. And that's exactly what the step and swing is all about. And you don't even need a golf club to do it. You can use something like a wine bottle or a rolling pin if you really needed to. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our feet together. We're going to build a small stance, small swing. The club is going to start by going forward toward my target line. And then as the club comes back, I'm going to step with my lead foot, my left foot. So I go toward the target, back and step. And that's the first step. It's just to build that coordination, forward and back and step. And eventually we're going to add the through swing. So we go forward, back and step, turn with it. One more time, forward, back and step, turn with it. I want you to start with really small swings just like this, and then you can work yourself up into big swings that have a lot more power and speed, but don't just jump to it unless you get the coordination first. So if you're all over the place and stepping and it's looking weird and it's out of sequence, then this drill's not going to work for you. We want to start feet together, toward the target, back and step, turn through. Really getting that sequence, that time, the rhythm, and the flow. And that way, the step and swing will help your game. There are few bodyweight exercises better than the burpee. It works your entire body, it gets you down onto the ground and up in the air, and you get a really good sweat without having to use any equipment. So let's talk about the burpee, because there's different variations of it. And the first thing that we want to understand is that the burpee is typically defined as starting in a standing position, getting your entire body onto the ground, jumping into the air, and then your rep is done. Okay, now there's a lot of different variations depending on how well you can move. I've seen people do just a toe touch with a little jump. I've seen people do a little plank walkout, either on the ground or even on a chair or a sofa. That's fine. You get to determine what on the ground is, whether you're on the ground or in a plank or propped up against the wall. And then you get to define what up in the air is, whether that's standing tall, jumping so your feet leave the ground, or even jumping up to a 6-inch target. That's fine. But at the essence of it, the burpee is down and up. And it's a great exercise to help you play better golf. What you need to do is have something like a timer on it that we can set for 5 minutes. And while that timer is counting down in those 5 minutes, we're going to go through a series of 4 exercises, progressing from level 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, getting as far as we can in that 5 minutes. Now, it's not guaranteed that you'll finish. The goal is to either spend 5 minutes working or to complete it as quickly as you can, but again, you may not finish it. So what are the 4 exercises? Level 1 is balancing with your eyes open for 10 seconds per leg. So I balance, left leg is flat to the ground, balance on the right leg, 10 seconds. Cool. Check that one off and move on. Let's try it with the left leg. Balance, 10 seconds. Check it off, move on. Now we're at level 2. I'm going to go back to my right leg. I'm going to do 10 single leg toe touches. So my leg starts flat, I bend down, and I come back up. That's 1. I bend down, I come back up. That's 2. If you need to, you can go to just your knee to scale this exercise. Makes it a little bit easier. Now the key is this. If you shuffle or fall or hop, you need to start that exercise over. Okay, so in this case, let's say on my third, I stumble. Great. I'm going to start back over at number 1. Now, let's say I just finished, okay, 9, 10. This is my last one. Right leg is done. Perfect. Check it off, move on, don't worry about it. Get to my left leg. Let's say we go 1. Let's say on the second one, oh, I fell. I don't need to go back to the right leg. It's already done with. Just start over the left leg. The third level of exercise is to balance on your right leg again, but this time with your eyes closed. 10 seconds, no hopping, shuffling, or falling. Go to your left leg, do the same thing. And then if you can, we're getting to the level 4 exercise, and this is where it gets fun because you might have some time left on your timer and you're just going to see how well you can do. We're going back to single leg toe touches, but this time eyes are closed. Okay, and this is really, really challenging, but that's the purpose of this exercise. You're not always guaranteed to finish, and even if you have the strength and coordination to finish, it doesn't mean you'll finish every day because of the time aspect of it. Okay, so we do 10 on one leg, 10 on the other. If you complete it, great, you see how much time you have remaining. If not, don't worry, it's really hard. Okay, you will get there eventually if you keep up with it and keep practicing. But there's very few challenges that are going to get you the same results as this one. Power, strength, balance, coordination. This one's got it all. This is the explosive side squat. We're going to start with our feet together, and we're going to drop down into a side squat, and then we're going to spring back up and try to catch our balance with our leg flat to the ground. We go back down, we come back up, and we try to keep that balance while keeping that leg straight. How wide you go, how deep you go, that's up to you. How long you hold it, how high the leg is, that's up to you. Ideally, we want to show control before we go back down. If you can get into a deep position like this, that's great, but keep this leg straight. Don't then bend it to come back up. If you're going to do it, go ahead and do it keeping it straight and fight for that balance. Do both sides equally so you're nice and balanced out, and that's the explosive side squat. If you found any of this information helpful, please go to tourshotgolf.com to check out and learn more. And then check me out on the social medias at Facebook. Come into my free Facebook group, the Mobilitas Movers, or check me out on Instagram or YouTube, both at TourShotGolf. Move better, play better.